Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for June 2025. The Odd Eyes deck was always a favorite of mine for the different pendulum variants for Yuya Sakaki's decks. We have the Pendulum Magicians, Performapals, and the Odd Eyes, including Zark, if you count that as the fourth separate deck. So 4 variations to all of Yuya's decks, and I felt like Odd Eyes definitely needed an update just for some of the changes made from the deck, with some of the ratios for some of the other numbers of cards we run, some of the extra deck variants that we can go into, having a wide variety of monsters to be able to summon out in this deck altogether. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the main boss monster of the deck, we're running 3 copies of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. This card could honestly be dropped down to, let's say, a 2 of copy count, and then increase some of the other numbers we run in the deck, which I'll mention, which you can increase and decrease for the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon when we get to it. But just having the option for the monster effect, if it battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage this card inflicts to your opponent is doubled. So with this card having double damage when inflicting that monster battle damage, but also having a search effect for a pendulum monster with 15 or less attack from your deck to your hand at the end of the turn by destroying it in your pendulum scale, just gives you 1 additional effect on top of this card. And what's great is that destruction effect can also activate your other pendulum scale, which is Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. If an Odd Eyes card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 Odd Eyes monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Arc Pendulum once per turn. So if you have the Arc Pendulum set up in your one scale and Odd Eyes in the other one, you can destroy your Odd Eyes, grabbing you the search for another monster, and then activate the effect of Arc Pendulum to special summon out another Odd Eyes monster from your deck to the field, just giving you that additional resource on the field to make use of. I have 1 copy of Odd Eyes Phantasma Dragon, and then the 2 copies of Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon for some of the bigger scales we can use as well. With this card, being able to target a Dragon, Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz monster in your graveyard, destroy this card, and special summon that target for the Scale 12 effect of Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, and then being able to discard 1 card to add 1 face-up Dragon Pendulum from your extra deck to your hand with our Phantasma Dragon. Having a scale 0 and 12 gives us a wide variety of special summoning using both of these cards as well. If you wanted to run a 3rd Revolution Dragon, you could always drop down 1 of the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragons for a 3rd copy of this card. Some of the Performapal monsters that we run include the 3 copies of Performapal Skullcrabat Joker. When it's normal summon, you can add 1 Performapal, Magician, Pendulum, or Odd Eyes monster from your deck to your hand. So just being able to search out our Odd Eyes cards with our Skullcrabat Joker makes it one of the go-to normal summons in the deck, because then we just have that search and setup for whatever we may need to continue our Pendulum plays. The 2 copies of Performapal Odd Eyes Seer. With the Pendulum Scale effect, you can target a Performapal or Odd Eyes card in your graveyard, add to your hand, then destroy this card. So add back power when we use our Odd Eyes cards for Xyz plays, because then those detached materials will go to the graveyard, Odd Eyes Seer being able to add those back. And if we Pendulum summon this card, we can, in the attack position, banish this card, target a Performapal or Odd Eyes in our graveyard, and special summon it. And then in defense, take a Performapal or Odd Eyes Pendulum from our deck, either add to the face-up extra deck or send it to the graveyard. Having so much setup with Odd Eyes Seer, depending on what we want to do with this resource. And then some of the other Performapal cards include the 1 copy of Pendulum Sorcerer. Once again, all these can be searched off of Skullcrabat, so depending on what we want for the play, we can add Pendulum Sorcerer, because then it can have the Destruction play to add additional Performapal cards to our hand. The 1 Performapal Gentrude, with this card, if a Performapal option, with this monster being able to use as that resource and added play for the other monsters, depending on what we go for the added setup with our Gentrude by using our Performapal Lady Ange. Speaking of the 1 of count of Lady Ange, just more and more setup for either the draw power for our Odd Eyes cards or just the use with our Performapal Gentrude in this card. The 1 Monkey Board, I know Monkey Board's now at 3 on the ban list, but this card can just once again be searched, and if it could search out an Odd Eyes card, I would ideally run more in the deck, but for this card being a 3 of count, I would say is more for an actual Performapal deck than the Odd Eyes deck. The 1 Odd Eyes Dissolver for fusion plays for our Odd Eyes cards from the extra deck as well, as that added resource. The 1 Odd Eyes Synchron for the Synchro plays, and then the 1 Light Phoenix as an additional source, having Odd Eyes in the name to give us a scale setup and power boost when we search out cards with Sky Iris. Some of the additional one-ofs that we run in the deck for our Pendulum monsters include the 1 Pendulum Graph Dragon having a setup in the Pendulum scale and being able to summon out this card with a Pendulum summon instead of using the Ritual summon to use this card. The 1 Odd Eyes Mirage Dragon for the added setup and the extra deck for other Odd Eyes monsters. The 1 Persona Dragon, I do like this with the Odd Eyes Synchron, because then this card in Synchron can help us get to our level 7 Synchro play by using it in the scale for that summon. The 1 Astrograph Sorcerer is added Destruction and Search, as well as the 1 copy of Darkworm and the 1 King Gate 0 to be able to search it out, to just give us another level 7 monster to use for a Pendulum summon, and then rank 7 plays, with our only hand trap in the deck just being the 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. I like running this in the Infinite Impermanence, but you don't want to run too many hand traps, because then it'll take away from the actual Pendulum plays that you try to set up in the deck also. For the spells, 3 copies of Sky Iris. This card is just very good in the deck. Your opponent cannot target Magician, Performapal, or Odd Eyes cards in your Pendulum zone with card effects. You can target one other face-up card you control, destroy it, and add 1 Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand. So just search power for an Odd Eyes card of our choice. The 2 copies of Duelist Alliance for added Pendulum search. You can search out Pendulum Sorcerer, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, you name it, with just this spell if there's a card in the Pendulum zone. The 1 copy of Terraforming to search out the Sky Iris. Odd Eyes Fusion as another Odd Eyes card to search off of Sky Iris, and then go for a fusion play with this. Dragon Shrine to be able to send our Supreme King Gate Wyvern to the graveyard. 1 Triple Tactics Talent, along with the 1 copy of Call by the Grave and the 1 Pot of Prosperity to finish off the spell lineup, with our only trap in the deck being the additional hand trap of Infinite Impermanence on top of our Ash Blossom and Joy Spring that we run in the deck also. For the extra deck, we're running the Xyz variants for the 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overlord, the 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion Xyz Dragon, and then the 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon for the added overlay power that these cards can provide to one another. The 1 Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, along with the 1 number 11 Big Eye Odd Eyes Absolute, can also be just used for a link play, and then get out our Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, along with the 1 Sky Thunder Zeus and the 1 Sky Crisis to finish off the Xyz lineup, with our synchros being the 1 Bysteel Dispatter and the 1 Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon for the added synchro plays of some of our bigger dragon monsters, and then just more special summon power with our Odd Eyes Meteor Burst. The fusion being Odd Eyes Vortex, one of the better negate cards, just making use by shuffling back face-up cards in our extra deck, with the link monsters being the 1 Beyond the Pendulum, the 1 Exceed the Pendulum, the 1 Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, the 1 Zephyra Metaltron, and then lastly the 1 Borrelsword Dragon as added potential for bigger OTK power against our opponent with the big dragon boards we can get on the field with our many different dragon monsters. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, as I mentioned before, Pendulum summoning out your resources or some of your better plays to rely on. And with that, whether it being your Skullcrobat Joker, could you give you an additional search, you can use all of these resources for that additional summon. If you have the Odd Eyes card array set up, you can even go for the Sky Iris play, using Sky Iris as the additional destruction for our Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, giving us the additional search for an Odd Eyes card, giving us the additional Pendulum summon setup for our monster, giving us the Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum as well to summon out an additional dragon monster onto the field. Setting up our scale gives us an additional special summon for our Odd Eyes that was destroyed on top of any other monster resources that may ideally be in our hand for us to be able to use. If they're extra dragon monsters, all the better. We can use those 2 dragons to go into our Xyz play for our Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, using that with our Odd Eyes monster to go into 1 additional Link 2 monster, using the Odd Eyes Absolute to then summon out our Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, which you have plenty of different plays to be able to go into in this deck. It all just depends on what you open up in your hand for that starting initial play. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Just a quick update to a very fun Pendulum deck. It always feels like I overlook Odd Eyes compared to the Performapal and the Zark decks on the channel, so I like to update it every so often, just like all the other ones. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.